We are here with NetSuite Senior Vice President of Product Management, Gary Wiessinger, who just literally hopped off the stage from his product keynote. Hey, Gary.
Hey, how you doing?
I actually thought he flew here, like the superhero that he is.
Yeah, that's right. He put his cape on, took it off.
And we could talk about Butterburgers if you want to talk about food.
Butterburgers? What are Butterburgers?
Well, we talked about a customer who owns a chain of Culver's restaurants, which is a fast food burger chain in the Midwest, started in Wisconsin, where I'm from, and is spread still mainly in the Midwest. And their main thing is a Butterburger, which is a Wisconsin thing, and it's fantastic.
God, I missed the butter part when, okay. Butterburger.
In Wisconsin, we use butter for everything, including our burgers.
Why not? Add, just layer on the cholesterol.
Absolutely.
If you're going to do it, in for a dime, in for a dollar.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, congrats on the great keynote.
Thank you.
It was jam-packed with lots of stuff that we have gone through a little bit of it yesterday. You put more detail to it, so that was great. But before we get to all of that, I was wondering about the opening video with School of Rock, and really, in particular, what was your musical inspiration for the Cowbell performance?
Yeah, well, it's really the young, up-and-coming Cowbell players are my inspiration. I try to be a good role model for them and blaze a trail for them. So I'm really doing it for them.
Yeah.
Right. You're sort of like the Dave Grohl of the Cowbell.
I would like to think about myself that way.
Yeah.
When I was a younger Cowbell player, I looked to, of course, Will Ferrell, for inspiration. I mean, really, you can't match Will Ferrell in Cowbell playing, but hopefully, there are others who now look to me maybe the same way.
Yeah, I mean, you are up there with Will Ferrell now, and we just want to thank your agent for letting us book you on this segment. So thanks so much.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
We only get a little time with him.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
And don't look him in the eye.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Okay, well, let's start off with design thinking, which is kind of how you started off the keynote. And, we've managed to innovate in ways that engage the users by way of learning from them and their actions, right? So any specific insights that you can share with us on what they've told you?
Yeah, and this is something we're doing, hundreds of us are doing every day. So many insights, but something that stood out in the pandemic that we found fascinating was people are using analytics even more than they were before. And as I talked about a bit, a lot of this empathy and understanding is about asking why.
Yeah.
So we ask why, and it's not just asking why once, we ask why, and then we ask why again, and we ask why again. Typically until it gets uncomfortable, and then we know that, all right, we've gone too far.
That's actually a strategy I think my therapist uses, but anyway.
Exactly. So maybe we're providing free therapy at the same time.
Yeah.
And so people said, we're spending more time in analytics, and we said, okay, why? And we already had a couple of hypotheses. Well, with sales dropping, people need to manage their costs more. So okay, they're probably trying to understand their costs, and that was one of them. With the pivot they need to understand that. Okay, they said that, but they said something else that was a surprise. They said they have more time to spend on analytics, which, the more time because they're not commuting, they're not traveling, et cetera. But the insight there is when things were normal, analytics was something that they basically didn't prioritize highly. That was a nice to have. That was, if we have time, we'll do it. And so the learning for us was we need to make it easier for them to get their analytical insights even when they're very, very busy. And so we've been working on doing things like that, and you saw some of it today with the NetSuite Analytics warehouse, and the 360s.
Yeah, I was going to say the 360 functionality looks great.
Yeah.
So as a quick recap, if anybody who is tuning in maybe missed it, can you tell us what this is and how it differs from our current dashboard functionality?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's an extension of our current dashboard functionality. We've enhanced the dashboard technology, but really it's about optimizing for a role and a task. So if you look at the Project 360, that's optimized for a project manager and managing a project.
Right.
If you look at the Customer 360, and it's useful for other roles, but we really optimize that, and we'll tailor it for other roles later on. Customer 360 is optimized for a sales rep managing the customer account. And so we're taking our existing dashboard focus or capability, which is very broad and powerful, but we're tailoring it to make it easier and more consumable for specific roles and specific tasks.
That's great.
Yeah, and I think, there were a couple things from your keynote that we saw, the Item 360, Project 360,
Yep.
so that's very exciting. Switching topics for a minute, we put a lot of investment into our supply chain capabilities, and given some of the supply chain challenges that companies have had to face in the past year and a half, how have they responded to that functionality in light of that?
Yeah, the response has been very positive. This has been something we've been investing in, well, basically since we started NetSuite, but especially over the last maybe 5 years. And as you said, the supply chain management functionality has been more important now than ever.
Yeah.
And so we've seen more customers adopt functionality like our WMS, warehouse management, our manufacturing functionality, our supply planning and demand planning, our manufacturing mobile. And the feedback has been very, very positive, and customers saying, thank you, thank you for doing this. It helped us get through the pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking that, we were on yesterday with Gavin Davidson, and talking about this being the supply chain, some of the supply chain functionality being a 5 or 6 year roadmap that we're kind of towards the end of, not end of, but today, and we couldn't have anticipated, but glad that we did, even inadvertently.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And omni-channel, enabling retailers to use their stores as mini warehouses and distribution centers, and also points of pickup and shipping. Omni-channel was big before the pandemic. It became critical for retailers when they couldn't actually let customers in the store. And so we already had some of that functionality built and offered more since.
I think we can probably say the same thing about cash management. Not that it was never important, but it's certainly the importance of it heightened during the past 18 months. So what areas in cash management do you think will have the most positive impact on customers?
Yeah, I'm really excited about the automation, and in part because it's a task that everyone does. We've turned more focus to the experiences, the problems that the vast majority of our customers have, and making those the best we possibly can. And as I said in the keynote, the best experience is no experience because the system's doing it for you. And so what we've done with automated bank feeds and auto cash and the AP automation that I talked about today, Suite Banking, just doing more of that work for them is a big part of it. And then the other thing is the visibility with solutions like Cash 360, giving them the information they need to be able to make quick and good decisions about how to manage cash for their business is powerful, and that's it's rewarding.
We had Tom Altman from ClickStop on just before, and he came up with his superpower to be the automator.
A superhero.
Right? I think,
how did we not think of that for our
true.
superheroes?
Well, we're not done.
I know.
I agree.
We wrote it down, but he said we'd have to give him credit. So we'll do
not
that.
ClickStop, but him.
Yeah,
specifically.
him personally. The automator, I like it.
Yeah, isn't that great? Isn't that great?
That is cool.
Now, there seem to be a lot of incremental, consumable features that are really helping our customers optimize existing workflows. Things like payment link, payment types, and smart count. Has this been a deliberate effort, and if so, why?
Yeah, absolutely. For a lot of our history, we've been, we were the kind of disruptor chasing the incumbents, and they had a lot more functionality. And so it was easy for us to always want to add more features. And we did. And we've added a lot of features over 20 years. We realized a few years ago that some of the things that we added, maybe even back in year one, weren't as good as we'd like them to be. They're good, but maybe they're not great. Customers were satisfied, they're happy, but maybe they're not delighted.
Right.
And so we've said, we need to go back to basics. We need to go back and identify the things that everyone does multiple times per day, every customer, at least not every user, does multiple times per day, and make sure those are the best they can be. And we call it exceptional horizontal experiences, horizontal just meaning very common. And so yes, over the last several years, we've been doing that. Again, cash management is an example. Auto bank feeds is an example. We're doing it in analytics. Really across the board, we're looking at what are the basics that nearly everyone does,
right?
And how can we make those delightful?
Right. Well, and collaboration features is one of those. We saw during the keynote the My Account commerce enhancements, banking integration, payment link, and marketplace and commerce connectors. Integrations in the past have always been relatively heavy services. A lot of these seem to be relatively simple for customers to enable and to begin with. So has that also been deliberate?
Very, very deliberate.
Yeah.
NetSuite is all about, it's one system, no limits. We want to be one unified system, eliminate the hairball of other systems. But realistically, we're not going to be the only system that our customers use. And in the past, we've offered integration technology, SOAP, and now REST. But we didn't get into that business directly. We said, okay, others can help them integrate with other systems. We've realized there's too much pain there. As you said, it's too heavyweight.
Yeah.
And again, it's one of those horizontal experiences that we want to make exceptional. And so we said, okay, we need to get in here directly and provide a better experience for them to integrate to the other systems that inevitably they'll need to do.
Yeah, definitely.
Going back to the experience segment for a minute, I mean, you can see, in terms of your keynote, you can see the design thinking, coming through. And ERP is typically, forms and lists and transactions. So these UIs seem to be more optimized around the job that needs to be done, right? So what are your thoughts on the future experience for financials and ERP in general?
Yeah. Well, and you said it well. It's optimized for the job to be done and the user and how they work and how they think. And we are questioning. I mean, we have been somewhat guilty of it ourselves, of thinking about, okay, how is account reconciliation typically done? And okay, you get a couple lists of transactions, one in your bank, one in NetSuite, and you match them. That's that sort of obvious way to solve that. It's how it's always been done. And we said, okay, let's not assume the conventional way is the best way. Let's not take the conventional kind of requirements. Let's go deeper, understand the needs, and then push ourselves. I mean, and it's hard. It's really hard to break out of the mindset that this industry, that we're a part of, has had in some cases for 40 years. ERP is at least 40 years old, and it's hard. But we have techniques for pushing ourselves to do that and say, okay, starting from scratch. If nothing existed, how would you do it? And with the current technology, and you get to things like the account rec that I showed today. So it's going to be more of that, and us pushing ourselves to do that really, really hard work of questioning everything and basing it on what are their true goals, the user's most important goals. So I expect and hope to see a lot of ERP and financials that look nothing like ERP and financials, and that would be a very good thing.
Yeah.
I'd even love if someday we don't talk about ERP anymore.
Right.
That term itself is not representative of what they're trying to do and what they need to do to succeed.
Continues to evolve. Actually, fun fact, ERP actually started as MRP in the 1960s, as we've dove into quite a bit.
Paul Farrell, did he tell you that?
Yeah. Is that?
He's full of fun facts.
I store that in the back of my head for a time like this to just bring that out.
That's right. I'm not surprised that was Paul giving you that history lesson.
Right, exactly. Now, you shared a lot of great stuff with us today, stuff that's available in the product currently and that's coming in the future. But is that it? Can you share anything else with us?
Yeah, but I don't think you're going to give me enough time to do it.
You're right.
I said there are 160 enhancements. I didn't have time. We didn't have time to talk about 160 things. So that's really, it's one of the hardest things in the product keynote, in making it, is deciding what not to include. And there's a lot of stuff that gets left on the cutting room floor every year. So there's tons more that we have done, we are doing. And one of the most common, we talked about insights earlier, one of the most common things I hear when I talk to customers and say, what can we do to make NetSuite better? I talked to John Capodanno, who helped me make the School of Rock video, and I used that shooting as an opportunity. John, tell me about NetSuite, how you use it, what works, what doesn't, what can we do to help you more? And his first answer, and this is very common, is, we're not getting enough value, or the full value out of NetSuite. We know there's so much more it can do, and we are not doing it yet. We, the customer, they kind of put it on themselves, and we want to make that easier for them. And we're doing that. And it's critical that customers take advantage of the tools we have out there today and read the sneak peeks and read the release notes and read the marketing communications and the blogs and learn about the new functionality and then try it out, take advantage of it. So yeah, there's a ton out there. Most people don't realize how good it is. Please spend some time checking it out.
Love that. Thank you for that insight. This was a great interview. I have to end it on one last thing. As we said, Tom Altman decided that he'd be the automator.
Yeah.
If he could be any superhero, what would your superpower be?
Well, you actually nailed it earlier when you said you thought I flew over. I've always liked the flying thing. It'd be cool to be like a bird, eagle, etc. Although maybe a little bit more realistically, yesterday in Evan's keynote, the Make-A-Wish Foundation, I really like theirs. The superpower of hope really it touched me, and so maybe in real life, I'm going to try to make that my superpower as a parent, as a leader, as a person.
It's amazing.
Yep, I love that. All right, thank you very much, Gary.
Thank you.